Hey, what's up, trainers? Today I want to walk you through a deck that I put together and have been playing since day one, since the rank ladder launched on Pokemon Pocket. The deck I'm going to be talking about is 16 trainer Giratina deck that features Giratina X paired with Darkrai and then combined with 16 trainer cards to support it. Awesome. So the reason why I wanted to put together a walkthrough for this deck is that it honestly was amazing. It has play against just about every deck in the meta, and it was just a ton of fun to play as well. And so just to give you a little bit of background, this deck carried me all the way to Master Rank, where I was able to get there in only 205 games, a 72.1% win rate, and actually got into Master Rank on the back of a 10-game win streak. And so you can see this deck obviously performed incredible. It was lots of fun to play, and honestly, might be one of the best decks in Pokemon Pocket right now. So let's talk a little bit about how the deck works. So the deck is broken up into kind of 3 or 4 main components. First, you've got your Pokemon package, which is your Giratina X and Darkrai X, a pair of each of them. You are, of course, running only Dark Energy in this deck, and just because Giratina X is self-sufficient when it comes to that Psychic Energy. The second kind of component of the deck is made up of sustain. So you have 2 giant capes, 2 potions, and a Pokemon Center Lady. And the idea here is that these are meant to keep your Pokemon healthy so you can get set up, which I'll talk about what that setup looks like in a little bit. And the capes are absolutely amazing for helping you clear some of the major breakpoints. Adding that to a Darkrai, adding that to a Giratina really helps you beat out some of those important breakpoints that opponents are going to be launching at you. You've obviously got your Pokemon Professor's Research and your Pokeballs for our card draw, and then you've got your trainer package at the bottom here, which is really built to help tempo the opponent so that you can get set up while also doubling as closers as well. And the pairs of red here, which I think honestly were the MVPs, and the way that they kind of work together in this deck are used kind of as the closers. And so just quickly, the way that this deck works is all about trying to get Giratina and Darkrai, one of each down in the very beginning of the game. You essentially are powering up your Giratina with its ability while powering up your Darkrai with your free energy. You're chipping away at your opponent along the way. Ideally, you want to be leading Darkrai with Giratina sitting in the back, and you want to get to a point where both are at full energy, which is really, really important. You don't want to get impatient and go in for the attack too soon, unless it's going to put you way, way ahead. But really, you want to be patient, get them both to full energy. Generally, what ends up happening is your Darkrai ends up getting a point while then getting sacrificed. Your Giratina can then come in and clean up. And so there's some really powerful plays here, for instance, where if you have a Darkrai in play and a Giratina X in play, and you've got full energy on your Giratina, you can bring your Giratina in, put an energy on Darkrai, chip for 20, launch a red, and then hit with Giratina X, and you're hitting for 170 points, which will clear just about everything in the meta, except for Gyarados, Charizard, and Gallade if it's wearing a cape. But I'll talk more about it. That usually doesn't give you too many problems, as there is a way to play around some of those matchups. There's a lot of other fun things that happen in here. I loved having Mars to be able to kind of throw opponents off when it came to them trying to find their stage 2 or trying to close you out with maybe like a Cyrus or a red in hand and just kind of, forcing them to shuffle their deck back into their hand. Generally, because you lead with Darkrai and you sacrifice it, you end up being able to then throw Mars out with your Giratina being brought in and clearing all their cards out and leaving them with a single card, which is pretty awesome. And then the Sabrinas were something that I added late to the deck, which were really important for tempoing decks that you really didn't want to get set up, like Gyarados. Once that's set up, it's really hard to beat. Charizard, same thing. The Sabrinas really help you with that. And then just lastly, I want to call out, I started off by experimenting with the Drudd version, found that to be a lot weaker. Giving up a single point by putting a Drudd up just makes you so vulnerable. Beyond that, explored with Dawn. However, this deck really wants to be patient and power up both Giratina and Darkrai. And it's important that, using Dawn to pull that energy off of Giratina ends up putting you in a position where you have no closing power. And I found it to just be really, really inferior. Tried a version with a singleton of Arceus, same thing. Really, you just need Darkrai and Giratina, and that package really does all the heavy lifting. And so with that said, let's get into some of the matchups and kind of talk through how to maneuver and how to steer this deck. All right, so getting into the first matchup here, first thing you're going to want to do is take a look at the energy. And so we see water, and so we're going to assume, 18 trainer, maybe Gyarados. So we'll just kind of wait and see. We're obviously going to lead our Giratina X because we don't have our Darkrai, but ideally we'd want to put Darkrai in first here. And so the goal is to now obviously draw into our Darkrai and get that down. And then obviously get that energy on Giratina. This is a deck that loves going first. So that way we can, especially when you have a Giratina, so that way you can actually steal first energy advantage. It also allows you to power up Darkrai and Giratina in a way that they both get to full energy about the same time, which is really nice. So here we go. We're going to see what the opponent does here. Really just hope for no big Misty flips, but the really nice thing about this deck, and you'll kind of see, is that even with a big Misty flip, it actually has a lot of sustain and can really still come back. And so you'll see here we've got a double Misty, double heads on Misty, and this opponent is now going to be able to hit us for 30, and honestly, going to be able to Dimensional Storm on their next turn. Pretty insane. We're in a pretty bad spot here, so we're just going to go ahead and see what happens. We go ahead and start powering up the Darkrai. We go ahead and use the ability on Giratina to power that up, and we're going to most likely expect that they're going to come in here and storm us. The good thing about this is that if they do that, they're basically going to be energy dry. So at that point, we're hoping that we can get Darkrai powered up and attacking before they can build their energy back up. Or hope that they don't pull another Misty and flip another crazy Misty. So the other thing here, and this is where Mars is absolutely phenomenal. You'll see here with that quick hit, they've got a full hand of cards, and I've got a Mars here that just loves stripping them dry. So we're going to go ahead and put our second energy on Darkrai. We're going to go ahead and pull our Giratina in here. And so the reason why you want to bring this down, because obviously you can get tempoed here, but the nice thing is that you can always use the Tina energy in order to pull it back. But if we need to, we can swap into Tina in order to buy us some more time. So here you can see we just completely devastated their hand, right? All of those cards that they had completely gone. And honestly, we're not in a terrible spot here. We've got a bunch of heals. We've got a Sabrina and a Cyrus that we can use in case they bring their other Palkia in. And what seemed like a pretty devastating matchup with them hitting 2 heads on Misty is now all of a sudden really leaning in our favor. And so you can see here, we're going to go ahead and draw into Cape, which is fantastic. With this Cape, the potion, and the Pokemon Center, we can now basically bring this Darkrai all the way up to full health with the 20 point HP bonus, and now actually puts it out of Dimensional Storm range unless they were to combine it with something like a Giovanni or a Red. And so you can see here, we're in a pretty good spot. We're going to go ahead and hit them. We'll go ahead and take the 20 damage from the helmet, not a problem at all. And that's going to go ahead and now also put them in a range where if they decide to pull another Palkia in and without heals, and we can use the Cyrus to pull it up, use the Darkrai trigger to clear it out, and then swing against, what should be a relatively dry energy or maybe a 1 energy Palkia that they pulled up into the front. So it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen here. They're going to pull Palkia in. They do have the heal here, which is a little bit unfortunate. And then they're going to go ahead and throw a Giovanni, which honestly does pretty much nothing. Pretty much a desperation play at this point. I think their best bet here is to draw into their second Misty and hope for a really good Misty flip here. So we're going to go ahead and bring our other Darkrai down. And so this also, once again, does potentially put us in a position where we could get tempoed with like a Sabrina, for instance. However, the idea here is that we want to actually add energy that goes somewhere. So putting this energy now on the second Darkrai just gives us a little bit of sustain if for whatever reason we need to swap out into one of our backline to try and save the game. So we go ahead, chip them here. We're going to go ahead and Sabrina, tempo them up, right? And so what's nice here is that they're going to basically have to waste an energy because they most likely aren't going to run any X speeds or leaves in this deck and in order to pull this back, which puts us in a really great position. And so you see, we take this shot. There's not much that can save him here outside of a crazy Misty Flip. And from there, we can go ahead, we can Cyrus up the back line, and they do have the Misty. Misty goes, it's a flop, and this game is essentially over. We can basically Cyrus up the back line and then hit it with the trigger and then clear the other Palkia out with our attack. And so we throw the Cyrus up, they know that the game is essentially over at this point, and go ahead and concede. And there you can see how this deck just absolutely handled the 18 trainer Palkia variation, even with an early game Misty Flip. All right, getting into our second game here, we see Fighting Energy, so we can assume this is going to be either a Gallade or the single prize Rampardos fighting deck. To be honest, I was a little bit fearful of these matchups at first, but after playing the deck for a while and making a few modifications, I truly feel like this is a really good matchup for us. So we get kind of the dream lead here. We've got our Darkrai in the front, we've got our Giratina in the back. We get to be going first, which means that we get to power up both the Darkrai and the Giratina simultaneously in a way where they both kind of get the full energy at the same time, which is very, very ideal for us. And so kind of the idea here is we see their Ralts up front, and so most likely what they're going to do is they're going to try to put it in a position to move the Ralts back and move the Hitmonlee up so they can kind of power up the Ralts into a Gallade in the back, safe from the chips of our Darkrai. But little do they know, we actually have 2 Sabrinas in this deck just for this very reason. And so similar to the Gyarados deck, the idea here is you want to use your Cyruses and your Sabrinas early to essentially slow them down, but to also get chip damage on the big Pokemon, the big stage 1s or stage 2s they're trying to build up. So that way, by the time you get in a position to try to clear them with your Giratina, they are low enough that you can make that happen. So right here, we're gonna go ahead and just load up the entire board with kind of our full set of Pokemon here. Going to continue powering up the Darkrai and the Giratina in the back. And so you can see it's just crazy with being able to drop your energy on Darkrai and then also simultaneously add an energy to Giratina. It just puts you ahead so quickly, right? Particularly against these decks that aren't really ramping energy. And so, you know, what we really want to do here is kind of continue to try to find ways to slow them down, disrupt their hand, and get chip damage on the Ralts. And so you can see them putting the helmet on Ralts is actually amazing for us. So why is this important? A fully healed Gallade with a cape is out of range of our Giratina's attack plus a Darkrai trigger plus a red. And so now that they put the helmet on it, that means that it's at most going to have 170 HP, which is exactly where we want it to be. So this is really important for late game if they do end up getting the energy, the health, and the stage 2 assembled for their Gallade. So this is exactly what we wanted to do. So even if we kind of, power up Darkrai, end up sacrificing it, after getting some chip or maybe even clearing out something like a Hitmonlee, we will have the Giratina in the back. Hopefully we'll draw into a red, and we've got the backup Darkrai on the bench to be able to swing for that 170 points. And that's honestly the dream setup, right? That's kind of what you want to get yourself into. And so once again, we've got the Sabrina. We're going to tempo that right back up. We're going to go ahead and chip it again with the Darkrai. And this is totally fine, right? Like if they want to come in here and they want to stay in with Kirliv, they want to power it up to a Gallade, by the time they're able to actually clear our Darkrai with it, we have Giratina being able to swing in the back and a, lower health Gallade that we can clear in one shot. And to be honest, outside of their Gallade, their other Pokemon just don't really have enough power to put a dent in kind of what we're doing. And so you end up like even Marshadow, even if it can swing in and hit for 100 or 120 sometimes when powered up by Lucario, it's just sometimes not enough, particularly with all the heals we have, the capes that we have. It just really helps us stay above a lot of those really key core breakpoints so that we can at least get one more swing in, which is obviously super important. And so this is it, right? We've got a fully powered up Darkrai. We've got a fully powered up Giratina. And you'll notice I didn't attack, right? And so that's an important part about this deck, which is be patient. There's really nothing that they can do to try and clear my Darkrai here because they don't have the energy on their their Kirlia, even if they were to evolve it. So I'm safe. They can't do anything to my Darkrai. So I can safely get that fourth energy on my Giratina. And then this puts me in a position where no matter what, I can always add an energy to a Darkrai, hit for 20 chip. I can then swing with my Giratina, and that's 150 right there. And if for whatever reason, if we do get a red on this next draw or one of these next draws, that's a guaranteed 170 that we can hit for. And so they're bringing their Hitmonlee back in. They're evolving their stage 2, but it's dry on energy, right? So they need at least 2 more turns in order to get that thing online. And unfortunately, by the time they do, we have already run away with this game. And so you can just see the power of, look, they literally have 2 energy out there on their Pokemon. I haven't even cleared a Pokemon off their team yet. Like I don't even have a point here yet. I've got a fully powered up caped Darkrai, right, with full HP. I've got a relatively healthy Giratina X in the back. I've got a Mars and a Cyrus that I'm sitting on. Honestly, won't probably really need to use either of them. Cyrus will come in handy for the Gallade, for instance. And now I'm already powering up my backup Darkrai. This is just incredibly dominant, and so they've got to make a decision here. Like, what do? There's really nothing, right? If they want to put the energy on the Marshadow to be able to hit for that 100, they're leaving their Gallade dry in the back, and so they're in a really tough spot. And to be honest, this game is just over, and so they're gonna see if they can draw any sort of miracle cards to try to keep them in it. I think they understand, or they know that there's not a whole lot that they can do here. They're trying to think through their different moves, and once again, this deck just completely dominated this Gallade matchup simply with those Sabrinas, really tempoing the game early on, getting that chip damage in, putting them in awkward positions and forcing them to have to waste energy trying to retreat their Ralts and Kirlia back in order to save it and get to their stage 2. And so you see here, all we have to do is just swing a couple more times and they're done. So they decide to concede, and that's the way that you really want to play out the Gallade matchup. All right, getting into the next matchup here, we're going to first take a look and see what energy we're dealing with so we can kind of maybe predict what decks. We see dark energy here, so a couple things. This could be the Drudd, Darkrai, Giratina. It could be the Weavile, Darkrai deck. But either way, and usually when you see dark energy, you want to try and lead Darkrai if you can. So you just always want to lead Darkrai, and then here we either want to draw into, which we just did, into Giratina X and be able to put that down. And this is great. We're going first, exactly where we want to be. We kind of have the dream start up here as well. We go ahead and we put the Tina in, and we go ahead and steal first energy advantage by using its ability to drop that psychic energy on it. So here we're going to go ahead, and there's a lot of different options. We've got a Sabrina in our hand, we've got a Cape, a Red, we've got backups of both of our Pokemon. So we're sitting pretty good here. I think the only thing else that we'd really want to try and draw into is a Leaf, which gives us a little bit more maneuverability in case they Sabrina us, or a Cyrus, so that we can kind of use that to take advantage of any chip damage that we're going to go put on them. So looks like they had to lead their Darkrai, so not the best. Usually they want to lead their Sneasel here and have Darkrai sitting in the back. And so we're going to go ahead, and we've got a Potion, which is great, a Cape, which is going to help us with heals and deal with some of that chip damage so that we are staying healthy if they were to swap the Sneasel in or keep the Darkrai in, power it up, and swing at us. So the goal is that we want to be able to survive one of their swings so that we can at least swing on the back end and then come in with Tina to clean up. And so here, the nice thing I'll also kind of reiterate is by going first and having both the Darkrai and the Tina in, you get to kind of power them up simultaneously, right? So getting that extra energy on Tina lets you kind of stay on par with Darkrai who you ultimately want to get the Darkrai at 3 energy, while the Tina is also sitting on 3 or 4 energy, fully powered up. And really, it's a chess game. It's all about just trying to set yourself up in a position where you can clean up with Tina and swing every time for 150 or 170 with that red, using your Sabrinas, your Cyruses, your Cape, your potions to kind of just get you into that position. So they went ahead and used their Leaf. Great. They're using up their resources. That actually comes in handy later in the game to come in with their Weavile. We're going to go ahead and just tempo them here, I believe, and drop the energy chip on the Weavile so that we have a little bit of damage on there in case we want to Cyrus it later. And then we're going to go ahead and Sabrina the Darkrai back up and force them to either have to use another Leaf, use an energy potentially in order to pull it out, or just leave it up front and actually have to commit to playing that as their first Pokemon that they're gonna swing in with. So it looks like Darkrai comes in. We're gonna go ahead and use the ability on Tina, power that up, and kind of same game plan, right? Just like game plan's playing out just about how we would want it to. So it looks like they're going to go digging for some for another Pokemon here. Probably, I would imagine, looking for another Darkrai to be able to bring in, and maybe, if possible, have as a backup there if they need it. Go ahead and take a look at the discard pile to kind of see what we're working with here. And there they go. They drop that second Darkrai in. Helps them a little bit for potentially maybe trying to Sabrina in the Weavile. Looks like they use their own Sabrina to bring our Giratina in. And this is totally fine. Why? We already have 3 energy on our Giratina. We can swing with it next turn, no problem. And then from there, we can swing with it and also have the Darkrai trigger go off. We have a red in hand, so there's pretty much nothing they can do, right? Like we can basically with red, with Tina, and with Darkrai, we can swing for 170 and pretty much take out anything we want to. We have a Cape that we can use for extra sustain, and we also have this backup Darkrai, which actually comes in handy because ideally, rather than powering up our ride that's currently in right now, what we can do is we can actually start powering up our backup Darkrai, right? And what this does is it just gives us more options, right? For whatever reason, if it gets to a point where we have to start shuffling in and out our Pokemon in order to try to avoid giving up that last point, right? It gives us the ability to do that. And so looks like here, because we know we can clear out the Darkrai with Giratina, and because of the Cape, we also know that they can't, without a red, they can't clear our Giratina next turn. Even with the Weavile coming in, doing 90 with the super effective, the 20 damage trigger on Darkrai, that doesn't get them to where they need to be, right? Like they still need the red in order to hit us for that extra 20 and clear our Giratina, right? Who's going to go down to 130 as soon as we swing in here. So this is what I'm saying, like Cape is so clutch. It helps us clear so many of these breakpoints. And when I was running the helmet in my deck earlier, I just found I never wanted it. I never wanted to put it on, right? It's so important to try to get your Pokemon in a position where they can survive a swing from the opponent and at least get one swing in before you sack them and then come in with your finisher. And the Cape was honestly essential for that. And so here they have a decision to make. They bring in the Darkrai or the Weavile. And to be honest, I don't really think that they have an out here for the most part, unless they were to Team Rocket us and try to, steal all of our energy. But to be honest, I think Weavile probably would have been a better play. And right there, they know that there's actually no out for them, and they go ahead and concede. All right, getting into the next matchup here. And while that loads in, obviously, once again, first thing you want to do is take a look at that energy. What energy do they have? I think besides anything but grass energy, you want to lead with your Darkrai. But grass energy, you will want to put your Tina in if you have the option. And so here we see dark energy, and we're going to go ahead and lead with the Darkrai. Gonna go ahead and put the Tina in the back, kind of like Deja Vu, right? This is essentially what you want to do and what you want to see. And so we're actually gonna see the Drudd version. And so here's the problem with the Drudd version, right? Especially when they lead with the Drudd. Once you've cleared the Drudd out, which is not very difficult to do, you basically leave them with, they put themselves in a position where you only have to clear out 1 X in order to beat them, right? Versus our deck where you have to literally go through 2 X's, 2 capes, like 70 potential, HP boosts through heals. And it's just way harder, right? And so I totally, like to kill the Drudd from the deck. I think it's way stronger this way, way more consistent, getting that Darkrai and that Tina in, getting Tina in so you can start building up on that organic energy through its ability. It's just so powerful. So you see that they, once again, we got to go first. Which we love. We got to steal first energy advantage and go ahead and, load that energy up on the Tina. And so fortunately we have some Sabrinas in hand, a cape, and potion so that we can do some tempoing if we need to. We've got the potions to kind of help out with some of that chip damage along the way. And then, the cape that we can either decide to put on the Tina to kind of help protect it from that 20-point, self-damage that it does. And keep it up at that 150 HP mark, or if we need to, we can put it on the Ray to kind of give it some more sustain and keep on stay in the game a little bit longer. So as you see here, they're going to go ahead and Mars us. Great, okay. They give up a card. We to kill 2 of our cards. A little bit of a bummer, but we get the Professor Research out of it, which is totally fine. We're going to go ahead and get that card advantage right back, and we're still in a really good position here. Look at that, another Professor Research comes in. We're going to go ahead and draw. We've got our cape back, and now we've got some more heals as well. We're going to go ahead and put that cape on that Darkrai to once again keep it out of range of their Darkrai who coming in and swinging. Now obviously they could leaf their Druddigon out and bring it in, which is great, which means that they can't use a red or something in order to try to clear that extra 20 HP. So this cape really helped us kind of keep it out of Darkrai range. Now they're dropping their own Tina down, which is late to the game. This is not really going to help them a whole lot because at some point they're going to need to start swinging, or we're going to force them to start swinging. And when they do that, they can't actually bring any more of that psychic energy onto Tina. So it's so important that you get it down early and you're building it while you're building your Darkrai, right? And so that when you're ready to swing, you can swing with both of them. And so we're going to go ahead and just use this Pokemon Center now, which I think is important to kind of once again keep it out of range of their Tina coming in and trying to clear it in one shot. We want to be able to live that and be able to swing back at them, which is really important. And so we're totally fine playing the long game here, right? Like we're just setting up. We are now at a point where next turn we can drop energy on Darkrai, we can swing, and our Tina is powered up, right? So every turn after that, Tina can swing for 150 or 170 with that red that we have in hand. That will clear everything on their board. So if they decide to come in with their Tina, who now has a cape on, doesn't matter. We just put an energy on Darkrai, we throw up the red, and we swing, and that thing is cleared. And so this is perfect, right? This is what I'm talking about and getting into that kind of like checkmate situation. You literally just want to kind of put yourself in a place where you can, you have that Tina set up in the back to just swing, right? And everything is set up here. And so we're going to go ahead and sacrifice our Darkrai, right? Like we are good. All we want to do is get that 1 point with it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to swing in, take the damage, no matter whatever they bring in and clear us, it's going to go down to the Tina, and that's game. And that's the thing about the Drudd version that I feel is inferior, which is once that Drudd has gone down, right? Like you are so vulnerable. You've just basically given up a point for something that is doing nothing but a little bit of chip damage. So we're totally fine here to just sacrifice the Darkrai. As they say, play the long game, get into that checkmate situation where that Tina is set up in the back, red in hand, and a backup Darkrai to use so that you can actually get that 170 shot. And look, they don't even bring in the Tina because obviously they don't even have the energy on it yet to swing because it came in so late to the game. And so they're going to bring the Darkrai in, and to be honest, there's not a whole lot they can do here. They can come in, they can swing and clear the Darkrai, drop the energy on it, and they're just dead on board. at this point. Like they need a cape to maybe try and save them, not knowing that I have the red in hand. But at this point, it doesn't even matter. They would need to do something to clear our hand, which they already used their Mars, so not something that they can do. They could like Iona and have us reset our hand, but we've got 2 reds in our deck, so we have that consistency, and we're most likely going to draw another one. And so they go ahead and swing, and at this point, I think they just know, right? They're just waiting for us to make a mistake, and once they see that we can go ahead, we can drop the energy on Darkrai, we can then go ahead and actually throw up the red and just flash the 2-star, and they know they're dead on board. And that's kind of how you want to play out the Darkrai Drudd matchup. All right, so here we go, loading the next matchup, and we got to go first, so perfect, just where we want to be, especially if we have a Tina in hand or can draw into a Tina. So we'll take a looking at the energy. We see Steel. So this is most likely in Dialga Arceus deck, right? Like that's pretty much what you can expect. You want to be leading Ray here, but obviously we don't have the opportunity to do that. So our goal is to try to draw into one before our next turn, right? Like the last thing we want to do is be putting a dark energy on our Tina. Like it's not the end of the world, but generally that's going to put us a little bit behind. And it's not really where you want to be. Now, them having to lead Shaman is great for us, right? So like this means that, you know, they really missed on their optimal opening, and they're going to have to, you know, waste an X speed, waste an energy, a leaf, something in order to get this thing out and get their Dialga out front, which is really what they want to be doing. So pretty unideal start for them. For us, we are actually able to pull the professor's research, get the Pokeball and the Darkrai. We're now sitting on 2 Darkrai's in hand, and we get to put that down and perfectly get to drop that dark energy on it, start chipping, and load up another energy on Giratina. And we, you know, not our dream start, not our perfect start, right? Because, you know, as I said, we want to have that Darkrai up front ready to go. But to be honest, like we're in a really great position here. And so we've got our leaf if we wanted to kind of like maneuver some things, right? Like, you know, if you wanted to reset the Giratina in the back and just kind of make sure that you have that to close, just because it's such a good closer, we have it, right? We've got red in order to, you know, hit through a cape. We've got Potion and Cyrus. Like, we've just got a lot of maneuverability here. And we've got 2 Sabrinas still in the deck, which, like, honestly give us tons of play for tempoing, and getting us into that checkmate position, which we ultimately want to be in. So you see here, looks like they've got their Dialga down, right? They've got their Arceus down, so a little late, but they're getting set up, right? So this can get out of hand really, really quickly, especially as they, you know, we don't have any real early pressure that we can put on them. Like, our goal early game is not about, like, clearing things out quick. It's about tempoing the opponent, kind of throwing them off of their plan, while also just like sprinkling chip damage around the board to whatever we think we'll want to maybe Cyrus in later, or to, you know, get something down underneath like a break point. So when we swing with Tina, Ray, and Red, we're able to clear it out, right? So we're just going to go in and drop that energy chip again. We've got the Shaman down basically to one more, you know, shot from the Darkrai, and, you know, that there's a point right there. But my guess is that they're going to most likely pull that thing back, bring the Dialga up, and start powering up the Arceus. So, you know, but, you know, just think about it, right? Like, we're 1 energy away from Giratina being, you know, able to swing, right? 1 energy away from Darkrai being powered up. Like, we literally have like our 2 you know, X Pokemon almost fully powered up here, and like they haven't even gotten to you know, get off one of their, you know, Dialga ramps. And so, like I said, this can still get out of hand. Like, you have to be careful. They drop capes on these things. You know, they get another Arceus down, and all of a sudden this gets a little bit hairy. So looks like they've got their cape to protect their Dialga. Another thing to think about here is, like, we have that Cyrus in hand, right? So if we can just clear one of their X Pokemon, and for whatever reason, like, we can do it fast enough so that that Shaman still has some damage on it, and then we can, like, quickly just pull it up and clear it. Like, we don't even have to worry about, you know, a caped Dialga, a caped Arceus. Like, we can just go around that, you know, if that ends up being the case. So looks like, the Dialga, it's at 170. Like, we could swing with the Giratina, but to be honest, like, that's not a good look, right? Like, that's not going to get us what we need. That's going to leave the Dialga with 20 HP still, even if we throw up the red. So it's about being patient, right? Like, so here, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the Tina back up to, get some health on it so that even if they did bring the Arceus in, drop down another Pokemon, and use a red, they're not going to be able to clear us. Like, we will still be able to swing at them on the backswing, and that's totally fine. So we're out of range, right? That cape just like put us, right over that threshold, which is great. And so we're just going to take it slow. We're going to get that Giratina up to 4 energy so that next turn we know that when we want to swing with it, we get to swing for 170 with that red. As long as we're swinging at the next Pokemon, that's going to clear out anything they have on board. Like, they literally don't have anything they can do to get a Pokemon over 170 HP. So it's perfect. An amazing breakpoint for the meta right now. And so it looks like they've got their second Arceus down. This is a little bit brutal, right? So like another cape, so they're gonna have a 170, Arceus there. This is going to force us, this 160 they have on the Dialga because of the Shaman, like, this is going to force us to have to use our red to clear it, which, like, we're going to have to do, right? And so this is getting a little bit hairy, a little bit dicey. If they have a heal for that Shaman in the back, like, we're kind of screwed. So our goal here is to essentially swing in with Giratina, sack it to their Arceus that they'll most likely bring in, and then ideally hope that they leave damage on the Shaman, and then Cyrus it up and clear it out with our Darkrai, right? And so that's the plan. We're gonna go ahead, and honestly, this potion here, it doesn't really do anything for us, right? Like, I guess it would put him out of Arceus range if they weren't able to drop another Pokemon in after clearing out this Dialga. But most likely they have something that they can put in order to hit with that full 130, meaning our Giratina is gonna go down, and we kind of have to rely on the Cyrus plan. So things are definitely a little dicey. As I said, this Arceus matchup can get out of hand pretty quickly, but honestly, just be patient and get yourself into these positions where you can use Sabrinas, you can use Cyruses in order to, really tempo the opponent, or use it as a closer, which is, generally what we're going to do right here. So as you can see, we're just hoping that they don't drop a potion on that Shaman. It's still got 10 HP damage on it, and as long as they swing in here, sure, use the red, do what you got to do. We win the game. And so this is what's really beautiful about this deck, is that the Sabrinas and Cyruses, they can be used to, and usually are used to tempo the opponent early on, but in a pinch, they also work as great closers. And so you can see that here's a situation where we're just going to go ahead, Cyrus that thing up, and the opponent, they're going to be pissed, right? Like, they thought that they had this, great comeback from a slow start, and that's all she wrote. We're going to go ahead and clear that one out. All right, going into the next game here, it looks like we're going second. We've got our, Tina and our Darkrai in hand. We see it's electric energy, so we're going to go ahead and lead Darkrai and drop the Giratina in behind it. So I'm assuming this is going to be a Magnezone deck. Seeing the Pachirisu, we're going to go ahead and assume that this is going to be the variant that also has the new Pikachu X in it. So hadn't really played a lot of this deck on the ladder. In fact, I think this is actually the first time that I matched up against it. So I wasn't really sure how to play it out. And so kind of just same thing as all the other games, right? Like, just, build up both the Darkrai and the Giratina, try to, build your, get your hand stuffed with some good trainers, tempo them if you can, right? It's obviously a ramp deck, so if you can slow them down even just a little bit, that's going to be ideal. And then, obviously use your heals and cape to try and, stay out of one-hit KO zone. So, we use the Professor's Research. This is great. It gives us, we've got potions, we've got our cape, and we've got a Sabrina, so we can tempo, we can heal, and we can also refill our hand with the backup Professor's Research. So pretty good spot, but once again, wasn't really sure how to play this out. Seeing them bring the Pikachu down and the Magnemite down, and then getting, the ability to kind of hit and ramp with this Pachirisu, I think from here, the best next step is, like, let's just slow them down, right? They dropped the energy on Magnemite, which I thought was really interesting, since Magnezone kind of, is a self, self creates energy with its ability. And so, I see that they bring it out, and this is great, right? So we can get this chip damage in on it. And so even if they were to power it up and leave it as the lead or pull it back, we could use the Cyrus, or, even just that extra 20 points helps bring it down and put it into a threshold where we can one-shot it a little bit more easily without, particularly as red will not work on it not being an X Pokemon. So that's kind of the annoying thing. And so this chip damage is really important here. And so we're going to go ahead and wait and see what they do. And it looks like they go ahead and, bring the Magnemite back. They're going to load up the Magneton, and they're going to start powering it up. So from here, they're going to also have the opportunity to ramp again. But the nice thing that you see here is that we've got a cape, we've got Giratina, and so they're going to go ahead and actually tempo us here. And this is really totally fine. The nice thing about this deck, playing against this electricity deck, is that they don't really have any Pokemon with super high HP values, right? So I think like the highest thing that they could really get would be like a Magnezone with a cape. And so having Darkrai in the back here is like totally okay. Like we can definitely use that as our closer. Just leave the Tina up front. We're going to go ahead and drop the cape on it to ensure that it can actually live this shot from Pikachu if for whatever reason they were to want to bring it in. So, obviously if they had a red, we'd be in trouble. They would be able to clear us, but they'd be getting rid of all of their energy, and it would be putting us in a position where we could just kind of come in with Darkrai and actually just like clean the game out. And so we're going to go ahead and thin the deck here. We don't really need this Giratina, but it just helps us for future draws to kind of get it out of the way. We're going to go ahead and power up, and as you see, put that energy on the other Darkrai to kind of have that as a backup plan, right? So we're just creating a lot of different options here in case we have to kind of do a little bit of a dance to try and avoid giving up the 3 knockout points. And so here we're going to kind of wait to see what the opponent does. Like they could obviously evolve into Magnezone if they have it, swap out, and actually take a shot over at Giratina. But once again, that's not a great roll or move for them, and instead they decide to reset their hand. So my guess is that they actually don't have the Magnezone at this point, and they were digging for it. So they're going to go ahead and put the cape on the Pachirisu, which is totally fine. We don't plan on hitting the Pachirisu, so when it really comes down to it, a little bit of a waste. We get a second cape here, which is great. Be able to put this on our Darkrai, and once again be able to stay out of that 150 point shot from Pikachu. And then once again, we're just going to go ahead and get Giratina to or try to get Giratina to full energy, power up the Darkrai in the back. Or if we want to, we can actually tempo them with the Sabrina, which is I think what we're thinking about here is, forcing them to have to make a decision to pull something in. And no matter what it is, right, we can then make the decision of, do we want to actually pull Darkrai up and start hitting with it? Do we want to go ahead and play the long game and put the energy on the Giratina and make sure that we just have that to be able to swing at full full attack? And it looks like we're going to make the decision. We want to go ahead and get that final energy on the Giratina X. We got 2 Darkrays in the back ready to go with energy. We've got 2 capes out there to kind of keep our Pokemon out of that one-shot 150 range. And from here, we can go ahead and close out our round. And so we're in a pretty good spot, right? So it would require them to have a red in order to be able to really take out and one-shot anything here. We see that they use the Pokemon Research, which is great, which means that they actually can't one-shot any of our Pokemon at this point. And I think that move right there pretty much kind of puts us over the finish line. And so pretty much all downhill for the most part, right? If they leave the Pachirisu in, we just clear it with the Darkrai. They actually decide smartly to pull it back. Putting an energy on it is interesting. I guess it's really the only thing that kind of wants the energy, knowing that the Magnemite is going to most likely get cleared out at this point. Here's an interesting play. We now have the Leaf. And so the Leaf is interesting because it could actually allow us to swap the Giratina back to the back line and have it set up as a finisher, move the Darkrai up, and kind of get us in a really, really good position. As I said, Giratina is a much better finisher than Darkrai, and so if you want to put the the Darkrai up in front, do as much damage as you can with it, and then pull it, and then sacrifice it, and then clean the game out with Giratina. It looks like that's what we're going to do, right? So keep that Giratina in the back, which we know can essentially one-shot everything, and go ahead and just start cleaning up with Darkrai. And so I don't think that there's a whole lot that they can really do at this point. I guess they could try to tempo us. They could come in with the Pikachu and, clear out with maybe a red or a Giovanni in hand. But they don't really have an answer for the Giratina. And this is what's great about this deck, right? Like, super consistent. We were able to get the Darkrai and the Giratina down early. We were able to power them both up. We were able to be patient. And it didn't really matter what the opponent did. We can let them build up. We can let them dig for cards. As long as we just kind of, put ourselves in this checkmate position, be patient, spread the energy around, and then just ensure that we can kind of, clear anything that they have on the board. That's kind of how this deck works, right? It's like very mid-range, almost like control deck in a lot of ways, in the sense that you kind of just sitting back and letting the opponent really like dig their own grave while you just put your get set up, and there you go. They don't really have a move, and so they concede. All right, jumping right into the final game here, and this is the Gyarados matchup. And so the thing with the Gyarados matchup is that it's our hardest one. It's definitely the one we fear the most, and unfortunately we have a kind of an unideal start here with Giratina up front, right, and Ray in the back, right? Like, we weren't able to draw into it until it became our turn, which is okay, right? Like, it's not the worst scenario. Like, we're still getting ahead of energy here. And the nice thing is that the opponent, they had to start with their Magikarp, right? And that's the thing with the Gyarados deck, is like, if you get like the nuts, right, you get your Manaphy up front, and you got your Magikarp and your Origin Form Palkia in the back, like, you can just steamroll, right? There's not a whole lot you can do about that. And so this is one of the main reasons why I brought 2 Sabrinas into the deck, right? And so Sabrina is great. It lets you tempo them and just kind of throw them off. So you can see here, we put some damage on their first Magikarp. We are not about to drop damage on their second Magikarp, and this is awesome. So what this does is, like, granted an Irida can kind of just completely reset all of this, is that we now have play with our Cyrus down the road. It also brings their Gyarados down to a point, if they do get it up and evolve it without any heals, to a point where we can now actually clear it, right? It's like puts it under that break point where our Darkrai, Red, Tina, Swing can kind of clear them out. And so that's what's important. It's really about like slowing them down, throwing them off, like making them have to either like waste energy, trying to have to retreat something, sprinkling, chip damage while you just build up the Tina and the Darkrai. And so, I wanted to show this game because, this is how you want to try and slow down the Gyarados matchup, right? Like, this is how you try to get them before they even get started. All right, so closing out, just wanted to, just talk through a couple final notes on the deck, and a couple of the matchups that you didn't see here. And so just in summary, the games that you just saw here were from that kind of last set of 10 games, that the 10-game streak that was in Ultra Ball rank 4, all the way up until crossing over into Master Ball on that 10-game streak. And so just a couple things, like the Gyarados deck is definitely the hardest one to play against, especially if they're able to really get set up perfectly. And so that's why the double Sabrina is in the deck. And also the 2 reds, which just really try to help you one-shot that Gyarados when it does finally come in. Additionally, I played around with a lot of different versions of this really early on, and just honestly found them all to be inferior. I think like adding Drudd just makes this a lot weaker, and we absolutely just crushed the Drudd matchup. Adding Dawn in, just get to let your Darkrai start off quickly, just always ends up leaving your Tina in the back dry, and like you just have no closing power, and it's just a really impatient and inferior way to play it out. The Mewtwo Giratina deck, which I think is really powerful, and honestly like my second favorite deck, and one I really want to try out. It's really strong, but like this deck just absolutely runs it over. I think I have a 100% win rate against it, and I saw it quite a few times on the grind to Master Ball. And then the Leaf, there's the grass deck, right? With the cat and with the egg, and then also seeing a little bit of it with Beedrill. And that can be a little bit problematic because generally it a lot of times forces you to have to get through three Pokemon in order to finish it out. And it's similar to the Gyarados deck. The goal there is that you want to definitely lead Tina in front, since it doesn't take that extra damage for grass weakness. and try to tempo as much as possible, right? Like use your Sabrina, use your Cyrus. The whole point is to really just try to like get them off their back foot, break up their game plan. Use the Mars if you need to, if you think you can kind of throw them off of putting down like their stage 2 evolution. And once you're kind of assembled, right, you can kind of get to that turn 4 where you've got full energy on both your Pokemon. That's where you can really kind of clean those decks up and make sure they don't give you too much trouble. So really, it's that simple. Just assemble your Darkrai or Giratina, be patient, use the potions and the capes to kind of stay out of one-shot range, and put yourself into that checkmate position. And this deck, in my opinion, is by far the best deck in the meta. I think it's so consistent, has so much play against just about everything. And as you can see, with a 73% win rate all the way up to Master Ball, playing just about every deck in the meta, it performs. So hope you like it. Hope you enjoy it. Leave your questions and comments below, and happy to help you pilot this and see the same success. Cheers.